I didn't think that I'd be looking at another Arctic Air this year, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of selection of coolers that I would deem worthy of testing. And then this Arctic Air Pure Chill 2.0 popped up and it definitely piqued my interest. What makes it so 2.0 special? So let's start with the box. It looks pretty similar to the Arctic Air Pure Chill from last year, offering the same features as what we've seen previously with the Ultra, the Pure Chill, and now this 2.0. I mean, the box pretty much has the same stuff on it, except now it's referencing this 2.0. There are a few interesting things on the back here when it comes to features, where it starts talking about 4 speeds that it has: a low, medium, high, and turbo, a cooling control, which we've not seen before. It indicates here that there are dual cooling jets. Also, cooling cartridge. It's a little bit of a strange phrasing there. I'm not sure if it was called that previously, but it caught my eye. And then everything else seems about the same, except for the top of this looks a little bit different. So it's not gonna do an unboxing because I've already opened it up and I've been using it for a week. I'll just show you what's inside the box. I do like that it's cardboard and plastic bags, minus the silica gel. And so all this stuff is easily recyclable. And there we go. But once it's out, that's pretty much it. It's just the Arctic Air unit. Power supply got me quite excited because it has something that I've not seen before on an Arctic Air. Get the box out of the way. And look at this power supply. Looks pretty standard, except until you get to the end, and what is this? Yes, your eyes do not deceive you. It is USB-C. The output is rated at 5 volts at 2 amps. Now here's the unit. The first thing you'll notice on the top of it is that there are way more buttons, and the standard kind of profile that Untitled used for the past at least 2 years. There's now just 4 buttons on the top. There's a removable tray that you can pour water into, and I'm guessing this is removable so that you can clean inside here, which is nice, but this doesn't really snap in very tight and can just kind of move around. I actually preferred the one that they had last year, which was just the permanent molded piece and you could lift this whole thing off. But this is how they did it this year, and so long as you're careful with moving it around, this shouldn't go anywhere. What we have from left to right is fan speed, a turbo button, cooling control, and light control, which is it's very similar to what is on the Arctic Air Pure Chill. But the middle two are new. It allows the Arctic Air to have effectively 4 fan speeds with a low, medium, and high, and then a turbo mode. So there are 2 ultrasonic transducers now. And let's take a look now at how this whole thing looks like from the inside. The drawer slides forward like it usually does, but it doesn't move. There's not much clearance as there once was because it has a very tiny filter this year. In fact, they don't even call it a filter. They call it a cartridge. And what it looks to me like they did is there are 5 pieces of filter media. It appears as though this is just a doubling up of what was on the previous cartridge. There were 10 pieces of filter media. So I don't know why they chose to do this. The idea is to get more surface area, and I'm thinking that this is not really designed to do any sort of real meaningful evaporation. Maybe some, but nowhere near what the previous filters were doing. It's more for absorbing the excess moisture coming out of the ultrasonic transducers and evaporating that away, because they do say in the owner's manual, do not use this without this filter in place. So it's not in the owner's manual, it's in this little for best results card. And it says, do not use Arctic Air Pure Chill 2.0 without cartridge. Water may leak out onto floor, which is strange. I've never seen that indicated before in the Arctic Air Ultra or the Arctic Air Pure Chill. This definitely needs to be in place while you're using it. And I noticed while it's running, this whole thing fills up with water. I moved it once and it leaked a little bit. It's actually leaking a bit now. I'm going to be doing the performance testing in a bit, so I'm going to see if that leaking continues, like if it was just setting it up and moving it around, or if it's perhaps something to do with the way this is configured. Speaking of which, let's get into the configuration. Let's take the front drawer off, per usual, just push it on both sides here and that should snap out. It's a very short drawer, much shorter than the previous one. You cannot stick other filters in here because the clearance just isn't there. This door only comes out so far and you can't stick the other filter sizes in there. They just won't fit depth-wise. So let's take a look inside here now, and you should be able to see some differences between last year's and this year's model. Mainly, the ultrasonic transducer has multiplied into a stereo setup here with 2 transducers. They're now facing outward instead of facing down with like a baffle that helps channel it forward. They also extended the water tank down in order to provide a constant supply of water to these transducers, and added, this is like a shroud or a semi-duct around the fan to perhaps reduce like turbulent flow of the fan. If you look at the back, you can see that it does say Arctic Air Ultra Advanced. The fan is unchanged from previous years, except for the fact that I've noticed that these fan blades, they look pretty rough. So I'm not sure if there was an effort to balance these afterwards or what, but it's definitely not as clean looking as far as the finish on the materials, as far as the fan blades, as compared to the Arctic Air Pure Chill and the Arctic Air Ultra preceding it. Some interesting changes here. We think it's just what they're trying to go for here. We'll see what happens with testing, is to just maximize airflow and maximize the amount of water atomization that then evaporates. And that's going to be much faster than whatever a filter can do if you're just going to keep adding more transducers. Also, this will work with high airflow and high moisture output. This will work in, theoretically, a wider humidity range. That way, it still provides some meaningful cooling. They're trying to do a lot here to just get some amount of cooling, no matter what environment this is in. Of course, this is subject to the same limitations as any evaporative cooler. It's just how well does it perform along the various temperature and humidity ranges. Let's fire it up and I will listen to how it sounds, and we'll look a little more at the user interface. Plug it in and I'll turn it to the side. I'm using a USB-C to USB-A cable. I'm using it purposefully with a tiny little power bank that only can output 2 amps as output. So I wanted to test to see if you could run it on a standard 2 amp battery pack. Let's just start with idle power draw. Oh, it actually turned the power bank off, which is a good thing. That means that there's not much idle power draw. What do we add here? Make it back up again. 8 milliwatts. Wow. 1.7 milliamps at 5.279 volts. That is very, very low and is enough for the bank to basically just shut off, continuing a positive downward trend of less power consumption. That's awesome. Let's turn it on. So the first mode I'll show is just high with both transducers on. So here is drawing about 8 watts. And then if I take it down to medium, it actually reduces the cooling output of the 2 ultrasonic transducers. They both still run, they just run at a lower output. And this is drawing about 4.7 watts. And then on low, we drop down to about 3.5 watts. And again, it's defaulting to the lower cooling mode option. You can always change it to off or turn them back on again. The final mode is turbo, which when you press that, the fan speed goes up to a higher level, which is turbo. You can hear it kick up even higher. And it defaults to both the higher cooling output and draws about 9.2 watts. It also has a light, and you can select through multiple colors. Then it will sweep through different colors. Finally, you can just turn it off. I've tried a variety of different button options, and there's no way to get it to go into a lower level illumination mode. It's kind of a bummer because I kind of like the lower level light output that the Arctic Air Pure Chill had. It's time to test this thing and see if it actually performs better than the Arctic Air Pure Chill. So I'm gonna go do that, and then I will come back with the results. As you can see, the number of Arctic Air Pure Chills 2.0 have multiplied. Now have 2 of them. That's for quite a surprising reason, which is the first Arctic Air Pure Chill 2.0 that I got, which is this one. It continued to leak. It was dripping out of the grill and then onto the whatever surface it was on, but it filled up this tray completely to the top. It started to leak into the lower tray here. If you moved it or just anything, it was leaking out the sides. Eventually got to the height where It was above the seam on this plastic and then leaking out the sides there and then out the back a little bit too. I wasn't going to test something that was just leaking water everywhere. So I ordered another one from a different online retailer. I figured I'd get another sample, try that, and see if it leaked as well. But before I get to the conclusion of that piece, the other thing that started to act kind of wonky was the ultrasonic transducers, because the jets started to they weren't spraying evenly. At first it seemed like it was a feature, but it was too erratic and seemed to be based on like what power level it was on, that it was just not getting enough power. It seemed a bit suspect to me. It also reminded me of another evaporative cooler that I tested that had 2 ultrasonic transducers. And that was that basin one I tested last year with the water curtain. And it experienced a similar thing as well, where one of the ultrasonic transducers wouldn't spray as much as the other. In fact, one was kind of like dominant, and the other one would kind of spray just a little bit. And it never flipped as long as I was recording it, and I was recording that thing for quite a while. It seems like it's kind of the same behavior. So the spray was uneven. I was getting the infrared camera set up, and I wanted to just use this while I was waiting for the other one to arrive. I could just see how uneven the cooling was. If you put your hand in front of it, in certain spots, it's really cool. It's like the infrared camera proved that out. It showed very cool air coming in this upper right-hand corner of the duct. But everywhere else, pretty much got nothing. And with this filter with only 5 elements instead of 10, and the depth being reduced significantly, there's nothing really inside here to kind of even out the airflow and the moisture and to provide any meaningful secondary cooling. It's just down to these ultrasonic transducers. So anyways, I got the second one. I'll move this out of the way. Here it is. This actually looks like it's an earlier revision of the one I just showed you. I started going into the unit itself, opened it up, and oh, look, the filters are different. This is just within a couple of days of ordering 2 of them, just days apart, but they were from 2 different online retailers. The filters are spaced differently. The cartridge media is different. It's thinner in this one, the second one that I received. It seems like this one is the first one that came out, and then the one I originally bought was the second one to come out. And the reason for that is there are differences in part numbers. This is model number 2120. Date code looks like February, date code 0422.0402. And then the other one, which was the first one that I picked up, this looks like it was manufactured, oh my goodness. So this is like it was manufactured the 52nd week of 2021, and this is manufactured the 4th week of 2022, this one. Too close, too close. 5th week 2022, so this looks like it might be the newer unit. The newer, this is the one they're making now. The other one is an older unit. Yep, 5221, so the last week of 2021. That's my guess of what is being indicated there. This is model 21075, which is strange because this is a higher model number, 21075, and this is 21020. You heard how this one sounds. This is the first one that I picked up. The second one, it uses way more power than advertised, so it goes way beyond the 1.5 amps that it's claiming, 7.5 watts at 5 volts. And when you turn it on, here's what you're greeted with. That corresponds to pretty massive fluctuations in power consumption. It varies from 8 watts to 10.5, and it seems like perhaps something is just not happy with the way that that is configured. I did a hybrid of tests between the 2 of them, which is I took the newer filter, it seems, and used this one in the first unit that I had bought. So let's get on to what the performance data actually was, because that was a lot of unexpected preparation to explain what was going on with testing. So performance testing became a pretty massive challenge. The fact that these units cool so irregularly as compared to the two previous Arctic airs, as well as the Basin, the one I tested last year, I was able to run the testing and I was able to get a range of airflow on turbo. We're up to 107.5 CFM, and on the lowest speed about 66.8 CFM. The fan provides a significant amount of airflow. The cooling performance, despite it being uneven, is still impressive. It had a range of 508 to 817.5 BTU per hour. 508 was on the low setting with the cooling level set to low, and 817.5 was on turbo with the cooling level set to the highest. So what do I think about this? But I would go towards this second one. If they can fix the power supply, perhaps this is another just quality control issue where the power supply is just acting wonky, and if you bought another one, it would be fine, but I wasn't about to buy a third one just and wait for that and do more testing on it. So if you're looking for one, I would probably go and see if you can find the one that is the model number, that is the newer model number. This second one, even though it was ramping up and down, at least it doesn't leak. And I did test this unit, but this one with looking through the infrared thermography, taking temperature data, that sort of stuff, the fan performance, everything is basically the same, plus or minus 10% of each other. So I would just go with whatever's available right now with the Arctic Air Pure Chill. And if it's retail like Walmart, you got a 90-day return policy. It is kind of a challenging moment for manufacturers for everything. And it seems like there's a bit of a quality control thing going on here. If you have an Arctic Air Pure Chill, there's no need to upgrade to this. There are some nice features like a turbo mode that sprays out more water, but as we just saw, it doesn't provide more cooling performance, because in exchange for it feeling cooler in a certain spot by blasting a whole bunch of moisture out of those two ultrasonic transducers, you get a reduction in the evaporative cooling through the filter by them cutting this out. You put your hand in front of the Arctic Air Pure Chill, it may not feel as cool. It's because it's spread out across a larger surface area, whereas this is not. It's just blowing a lot of air, gets through, which is good, but it's just spraying that mist, and that mist is just being concentrated into one spot. So I think that's it. I hope that was helpful. The Arctic Air Pure Chill 2.0, definitely interesting. Some nice features that have been added to it to kind of bring it up with other units that I looked at last year. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, like, subscribe. Thanks for watching, and take care.